and chat, but I got a plane to catch.
Check the registration of any person or company selling securities or offering investment.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I bring this meeting of the 28th of September 2009 to order, and we'll begin with the calling of the roll. Clerk Balmer, please.
Mayor Hines.
Present.
Audrey Green.
Present.
Councillor Anderson.
Present.
Councillor Cole.
Present.
Councillor Gaillet.
Present.
Councillor Ringrose.
Present.
And Councillor Wynn.
Present.
Affirm, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. We are all here and accounted for. This evening, Reverend Lauren Andrews was not able to be with us, so we always open with an opening prayer. Councillor Windle has agreed to bring the opening prayer this evening, so I'd ask you to rise and bow your heads, please.
Heavenly Father, we give thanks for our health, for this day, and this town we call home. We commend to your care and protection all who labor in the service of this community, especially those whose service places them in danger. We give thanks for the members of this council and the administrators who give their time and energy to serve our community. Help us to use the authority which we have been entrusted with to promote the greater good for all citizens of Renfrew. We pray that you would grant us wisdom, compassion, and integrity as we consider the work before us this evening, so that Renfrew might continue to grow as a community according to your will. We pray this with trusting hearts. Amen.
Thank you very much, Councillor Windle. At this time, I'd ask Council if there are any declarations of any pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Seeing none, please know as we move through the agenda, if something does arise, that is the time you can also declare it. So moving into our first motion, this motion moved by Councillor W.D. Gaillet and seconded by Councillor Gail Cole, that David LaRocques, dealer principal, and Warren LaRocques, general manager, on behalf of George Jackson Toyota, be heard before Council to speak to their concerns respecting site plan bylaw number 28, 2009. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? The motion is carried. Warren, and you want to come up here, or whichever one wants to come first, doesn't matter.
Can everyone hear me? I don't want to speak too loud. Anyway, I'm David LaRocques, and I have 50 years experience of crunching numbers. And I'm here with my son Warren. And Warren is fortunate enough that Warren holds degrees in commerce, and he also holds a degree in economics. Warren has been crunching numbers with me for 10 years. And I can tell you one thing, when it comes to crunching numbers, we're good at it. We know what we're doing. Unfortunately, we're here tonight, and it is unfortunate. It wasn't planned to be this way. We're allowed 20 minutes. We're not going to get everything covered in 20 minutes, but we're going to do the very best we can. There's an extreme misunderstanding between ourselves and the town council. And this misunderstanding affects apparently all new business coming to Renfrew. We have a bylaw that should be amended. We're going to try to explain ourselves as clear as possible. Whatever we say, please do not take it as personal. It's strictly business, but the truth hurts. And we're going to take the next little while to bend your ear and carry on. Warren will go first, and I'm going to follow up with the specifics with regard to the bylaw as we see it.
Good evening, everyone. Before I start, I'd like to say this isn't personal. This is about business. This is about the livelihood of myself and 20 people that call George Jackson Toyota their home. I believe all the people in front of me, they're good neighbors, they're good brothers, they're good sisters, they're good parents. I just believe that this council has not done the job to the best of its ability. And I'd like to call into question the code of conduct that bounds this council. Upon receiving the letter from council of August 26 stating that this council would not provide further hearing of bylaw 28, 2009, David and myself were very disappointed. We were very disappointed not because of this decision, but because the council did not see any value in hearing our opinion concerning this bylaw. Our disappointment was not shared by not only us, but our team members, our customers, and the people who have chosen to come here tonight, and I appreciate that, and also the 850 plus citizens of Renfrew area that have signed a petition asking you to listen to us, asking you to listen to about Bylaw 28/2009. 4 weeks ago, when we entered the Court of Public Opinion, we had the primary goal, and our goal was to educate the citizens of Renfrew of our current situation. At the end of this campaign, we recognized that we would have reached one of the following scenarios, which we're going to go down those roads. The first scenario is that the council would reconsider their decision and allow us to bring to light the misapplication of their policy upon the Whitten Road project. Or number two, that the citizens of Renfrew area would recognize that despite our impending exodus, we had tried our very best to stay within Renfrew. It has come to our attention that despite being in a democratic society, our elected municipal representatives are untouchable to the common citizen. We have had an open invitation to any member of this council, including our mayor, to open a dialogue to resolve this issue. No member has taken advantage of this invitation. Let the record show by raise of hands if there's any members of this council, including the mayor, that have been proactive to come and see us at our place of business since our last proposal. Let the record show by raise of hands if there's any members of this council that have been proactive to phone or email or mail us since our proposal. The mayor was aware that we had a proposal prior to September 14th. We requested to be in front of this council on September 14th to present. The mayor suggested a more informal meeting of September 22nd. Unfortunately, the September 22nd meeting would put us past our appeal deadline with the Ontario Municipal Board. Despite the fact we'd given the town office suitable notice prior to the September 14th council meeting, we were not allowed to put a delegation together. We had no choice to file with the OMB. It is against our grain. But we simultaneously put forth the $100,000 security deposit and a $50,000 charitable donation the night of September 14th in writing. The lack of communication between George Jackson Toyota and the Renfrew Town Council has been very puzzling. Before we filed with the OMB, the Council would not allow us before this Assembly and would defer all public inquiries concerning this project. Following the OMB filing, the Council has taken the stance that they cannot comment due to the OMB case. And yet we were allowed before you tonight. And I hope it's a gesture of good hope. Although the OMB operates as a legal tribunal, the OMB also allows for mediation in order to provide a more timely and cost-effective solution to the official hearings. Since there has been no scheduling for the mediation or an official hearing, we take the common sense position that it would be mutually beneficial to discuss this matter and limit the legal costs on both sides. We are stymied by the silence of the Council and our mutual inevitable collision course with costly legal proceedings. Why does this Council appear to be content to allow this matter to go to court? I could not find a code of conduct guide which outlines the responsibilities and actions of the Town Renfrew Council. I did, however, read an interesting document called the Municipal Councillor's Guide, provided by the Ontario Government's Ministry of Municipal Affairs. The role of councillor is stated as a councillor, you have a representative, a policy-making, and a stewardship role to play in your municipality. I will discuss how these roles should be applied by these councillors during their term in office. The representative role involves two main items. On the one hand, you are elected by the constituents to represent their views as closely as possible when dealing with issues that come before council. And two, on the other hand, election to office requires you to have a broader understanding of the issues. In our case, we question whether the council has listened to the constituents' concerns revolving around this issue. With the weak economy, the bleak job market, and the current financial crisis affecting all citizens and businesses in Renfrew and beyond, the ratepayers in Renfrew expressed the need to maintain George Jackson Toyota's operations within Renfrew. We provide 20+ jobs in the local economy, and we attract consumers to our community to do business here. The ratepayers want a prosperous Renfrew, and they recognize that George Jackson Toyota contributes to this end. Also, the Council's understanding of the broader issue is debatable. A number of concerned citizens have walked through our door and expressed puzzling and contradictory reasons why the security deposit is required, that were told to them by members of this council. We were very disappointed the council did not choose to investigate this matter independent of their peers. They had a responsibility to fully understand this matter, and by not talking to us, they have failed their responsibility. According to the Municipal Councillor's Guide, councillors must bear their responsibility as policymakers. The policies they support will provide the direction for municipal operations. According to this guide, accountability and transparency are paramount in maintaining the public trust and confidence. It is well within the mandate of this council to put forth progressive policies that will allow small business to be attracted to and flourish within Renfrew. The council must provide valid and transparent reasons to support the bylaws that they pass. If an error or misunderstanding has occurred, the council must be accountable to their constituents and rectify these issues. When we were last before council, we presented our case against the $750,000 security. Our appeal fell upon deaf ears. There were no questions, there was no discussion prior to your vote, and you stood together and voted this bylaw into effect. We were not privy to any prior comment or discussion outside of the public forum. To conduct business that is in the public interest behind closed doors violates the trust the public has placed in this assembly. To enforce outdated or uncompetitive policies does not promote confidence among the ratepayers of Renfrew. The stewardship role defined in the Municipal Councillor's Guide states council has a responsibility for ensuring that the municipality's financial, administrative resources are being used efficiently as possible in a way that is consistent with the council's objectives. While we do not question at this point the day-to-day financial operations of the town, we do question why the town is foregoing $1,000 per week in property tax revenue on Whitten Road. It stands to reason that the faster this matter is settled, the faster the town treasury will collect additional funds, the faster we can employ more staff, the faster we can attract more customers to Renfrew. This lack of communication has caused 4 weeks of delay. This has cost the ratepayers money. Also, your stewardship responsibility is further questioned by turning down the offer of $50,000 to local charity. We put forth a reasonable and researched security deposit to cover estimated municipal impact, along with a donation that would be better served by staying within the immediate area. We were not even given the courtesy of a response. Also, the town of Renfrew, rather than enter mutual mediation, continues to shield themselves with legal opinion. Based upon the mayor's recent experience, we question why does the council want to go down this road? Haven't the ratepayers in Renfrew suffered enough? I would also add this assembly has the following responsibilities as a whole according to the Municipal Act of 2001. It is the role of council, and I quote, to represent the public and to consider the well-being and interests of the municipality, and 2, to maintain the financial integrity of this municipality. This issue is larger than George Jackson Toyota's relocation of Whitten Road. This issue is how this council deals with a differing opinion. This issue is how this council applies common sense to a unique situation. And this situation is how compassionate is the council in supporting small business and building the local tax base. This issue is how the council enforces, quote unquote, the positive approach to business, industry, and development as stated on their website. I would like to quote the weekender of September 24th, where a local businessman stated, council's couldn't care less attitude has been exhibited quite clearly concerning his interactions with the town. I question council, is this the legacy that they want to put forth to Renfrew area in 2009 and 2010? To the members of this council, do not ignore any longer the responsibilities you've been entrusted with by the people of Renfrew. We would like this issue resolved, and we'd like it resolved tonight. Thank you. David?
Warren, you leave a copy of that with the clerk.
For this? Can I email it to you?
Once again, it's not personal, it's strictly business. I'm very disappointed the council did not research this bylaw. You didn't do your homework. We had the privilege of talking to Bill, Gaia, and Gail Cole. We explained ourselves to them. They were very sympathetic. We didn't have a chance to talk to anyone else. It's been a horrible experience. We deal in other municipalities. It's been a horrible experience here. And if the council is willing to sit down and talk, I'll tell you what my experiences are to date. And the money George Jackson Toyota has wasted, seriously, seriously. Anyway, I'd just like to talk about this bylaw and what we have researched and what we found out. A couple of weeks ago I was here, and Bill had the privilege of listening to Councillor Gaia say the prayer, and he asked for a learned decision, and I hope we have a learned decision tonight. And I also was looking at the letterhead of the town, and the motto there says, Renfrew, let it flourish. Renfrew, let it flourish. We've got to make some headway here. Renfrew is not competitive. Mayor Hines, I'm going to direct all my comments to you. Even though the mayor only has one vote, the mayor wears the chain of office. The mayor guides the council members in all matters. Therefore, the mayor must accept all responsibilities. So to continue on, the proper discussion, obviously, of this matter far exceeds my time limit, but I think the mayor is going to let me talk. She won't hold me back too much.
I'm just going to clarify a couple of things.
Yes?
Okay?
Go ahead.
And I did have a discussion with you and Warren in the hall, and I don't want it to be misconstrued.
Do you have to go?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
My mother is not well, and I may be called to the hospital at any time. The clerk has a phone that will vibrate, and I will leave, and 3 will take over the meeting.
No
So
problem.
I did discuss that with you before, but I didn't want it to be misconstrued to anyone here in the audience. And delegations are 10 minutes, so carry
Okay.
on. I don't want to take any more of that 10
We're going
minutes.
to speed it up here.
All right, that's good
Okay.
enough.
Anyway, you can tell we're not happy. We're not happy. It's costing the town money. I'm a taxpayer here, and it's costing the taxpayers money. Money out the window. It's a hard economy. We're having a really tough time. But anyway, we're determined, and we're digging in, and we're going to try to do the best we can. We've been well received by the town of Renfrew. We've been very successful. People here have supported us, so obviously we're very disappointed with this council. Now, we're not against bylaws. Quite the opposite. Bylaws are necessary, and we have to have their checks and balances. It's a tool that's imperative to the functioning of the municipality. Now, the mayor, the role of the mayor of council as defined by the Municipal Act of 2001. It is the role of the head of council to provide the council with leadership, to act as the municipality's chief executive officer. As chief executive officer of a municipality, the head of council shall uphold and promote the purposes of the municipality, promote public involvement in the municipality's activities, pay attention, participate in and foster activities that enhance the economic, social, and environmental well-being of the municipality and its residents. Going to the OMB, it's going to cost you a lot of money. My understanding of the OMB is when you go to the OMB, you go before a mediator, then you go to court. First question out of the mediator's mouth before we get through the door is going to say, what have you folks been doing between there and here? And we're going to say, Madam or Mr. Mediator, we got 2 letters from the town of Renfrew that says they're not going to talk to us. So how do you think that's going to go for the town of Renfrew? It's going to go good for me. Anyway, bottom line is I don't want to go there. I'm a taxpayer. It's going to cost taxpayers money. It's going to cost us time. Remember, bylaws should be updated on a regular basis in order to achieve beneficial decisions relative to the current market. And the updating a bylaw does not necessarily fall on the good folks as councillors. It belongs, originally it starts off from staff and works its way up. And these people are doing their civic duty. And I take my hat off to them. But in our opinion, and it's only our opinion, this council lacks business experience. The council is currently receiving advice from their legal department, their planning department, their engineering department, but where is business and commerce? The council disregarded and shunned the Renfrew Chamber of Commerce's advice and their offer to intervene. Shame on you. I'm going to go right to the bylaw. It is our understanding that the town of Renfrew has direct control of this bylaw and the following important stipulations. The town may or may not charge a security deposit. The town establishes the percentage to be charged. It could be 0, it could be 100, it could be 25. The town may establish a menu type cost schedule relating to a specific project or job, just like a menu when you go to the restaurant. It is our understanding that these requirements are established by staff and presented to council for final approval. Staff. These people get paid nothing, and they're doing their civic duty. Once again, I congratulate you. We researched several local municipalities. Two municipalities charge 0 for a site plan. Another municipality charges 100%, but it's adjusted to the specific project. Another municipality charges $5,000. $5,000, not $750. So we went to the 401 corridor and we searched several cities on the 401 corridor, and we found that they liked the menu program. And one city not very far from here, our security deposit would be $60,000. Not $750, $60,000. Now the $100,000 that we offered and the $50,000 donation, we didn't pull that out of a hat. We sat down with our people and came up with that number, which was fair. It was more than fair. It was actually double. It is our understanding if a security deposit is required, it should reflect an amount sufficient to commence a legal action pertaining to outstanding project defects. So we're not against a security deposit. There's a reason for it. No municipality, hear me out, my understanding is no municipality would step on private property and correct a defect because they're going to accept the liability. Last shovel in the ground, you accepted liability. Where's the common sense? There's got to be a lawyer here. The security deposit, according to the bylaw, security deposit must be affordable. $750 is not affordable. We're a small company. It must be reasonable. I don't think so. Justifiable. Council has never been able to justify the $750. You can't justify it. I've heard all this crazy stuff, I'm telling you, and I'll go to it. And once again, it is our understanding that the above requirements are established by staff and directed to council. I'm going back to staff. These people got regular jobs. The current method of administrating and enforcing the policy of this bylaw will stop all small business development. Renfrew is not competitive. I asked Murray Gahan for the building permits year to date. 31. There's around 7 new houses, something like that. Some renovations, no new businesses. 2 demolition permits. Not good record. You want to look north and see what's going on up there? Take a look. Now, remember, this is not a housing development. It's a private retail commercial project requiring a different security deposit calculation. If you want to talk housing developers, I'm more than glad to sit down with council anytime at all. I'm quite fluent in it. But this is a commercial establishment with us being the end user. So a brief history here. There's no municipal infrastructure. It's a private project, private funding, initial security deposit of $1.5 million, reduced to $750,000, something we didn't tell the folks at Renfrew about. Clause 14, the town shall hold an amount equal to 5% of the security outlined in item 8. 5% of $1.5 million was $70,000. It's now reduced to $37,500. And in clause 14, I don't see where that's refundable. Would that be extortion? This doesn't make sense. Now, I'm coming on to the end here. Just bear with me. I want to run a couple of things by you here, and I don't want to be rude when I say it. Sewers and waters, that's a big topic. Some of the council members, I hear third hand, are saying, well, we need the money for sewers and waters. I want to everybody stand correctly here. Sewers and waters, that agreement is under the development agreement, has been signed, has been agreed to. We know what is expected of us. It has nothing to do with the $750. We heard something about a defect, like if there was a road and we couldn't get the fire truck up the road, the town would go in and fix the road. Wrong. Private property. First thing you're going to do, I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to notify the owner. You're going to give him a lawyer's letter, registered letter. You're going to get the owner on the phone right away. And that owner's going to come tearing out of that door so fast, he's going to go to his contractor, he's going to go to his engineer, because they're legally liable. It's going to be a big lawsuit here unless they fix the road. I'm not going to have any insurance in my building. So that doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold water at all. If there's a major defect on the property, I got a 50-foot hole and you think somebody's going to fall in, the first thing that the town's going to do is fence off the property on your side. You're not going to step on my property at all, because you're not going to accept any liability. That's what it's all about. I was very disappointed with the mayor. Met the mayor in 2007. Sat down, eyeball to eyeball, said to the mayor, okay, I got no cards to my chest. I'm laying everything on the table here. I'm just an ordinary guy. I don't play cards. Here, nothing. I hear by the grapevine, Mayor, you're going to ask me to pave the road. I'm going to tell you right now, I can't do it. 2007, can't do it. I'm going to say why I can't do it. I'm not because I'm a mean guy and I say no, because I can't afford it. I have to go and get financing for this project, and our mandate was to hire as many people and keep as much money locally in Renfrew County as we could. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm spending money going out of town here like you wouldn't believe it. So anyway, the mayor and I looked back and forth, eyeball to eyeball, and says, oh, no problem, should be okay. What do I get faced with? We come down right to the final line, and what am I looking at? Paving the road. What happened to credibility here back in 2007? Is it the mayor or is it staff? I want to tell you folks, I made a deal with George Jackson and Dorothy Jackson on a handshake. My word is my bond. We made a business transaction on a handshake and then went from there. People in Renfrew are good people. I love living here. I love working here. My son lives here. I'd like to live here, but I got circumstances. I have no reason to leave town. If I didn't like it here, I'm telling you one thing, I wouldn't have standing here. I would have been long gone down the road. I want to quote a religious leader, and he said, anything that contradicts experience and logic should be abandoned. If it's not logical and you don't have the experience, abandon it. And Helen Keller, in closing, Helen Keller said, it's a terrible thing to see and have no vision. We're not happy. I appreciate your ear. We're doing the best we can. Thank you.
At this time, we are going to overview the project and certainly clarify some of the points. And I've asked Mike Asselin to do that. And if you'd like to stay and see that PowerPoint presentation, we'd appreciate that. If not, I mean, that is your choice. Just to clarify, I hope you do know that you are not paying for the road. We did hear you, and that has been taken off the table.
That's not the point. The point is in 2007. 2007, you and I talked about that.
We talked about servicing agreements.
Once again, it's on the agreement.
Okay.
So there's a credibility issue there.
Okay. Mr. Asselin, please. Your section.
All right, can everybody see from the back row over there? Okay, can you hear me all right? Okay, thank you. So we're going to just provide just a general overview of the project and some of its technical components, just so everybody has an understanding of what makes up this project. So as you all know, the location of the site is bound by the corner of Witten Road and O'Brien Road, so it's out near the highway. And there's essentially the entire parcel of land owned by the LaRocques essentially is Part 4, Part 3, and Part 2. So there's a request to break up that parcel of land into 3 parts, where this Part 4, I'll use the pointer here. Okay, Part 4 here will become the main dealership, and Part 3 and Part 2 will become future development lands. Okay, next slide, please. So, Part 4 is the George Jackson Toyota site, and George Jackson has applied for the 2 severances I've indicated. Town identified that all future development is to be on pipe services, so the official plan dictates that all development that takes place in that part of the town is to be on piped water and sewer services. So there was consent agreements that we asked the developer to enter into regarding the 2 parcels that would be future development lands, and that these developments or development on these lands would not occur unless piped water and sewer services were available. And those terms that say, Dave, were kind of flushed out fairly early in the development process and formed the basis of a development agreement and a consent agreement. So just a little bit about the pipe services. Those discussions were initiated in in June 2006. So options for servicing included pipe services on O'Brien Road, so directly would benefit the George Jackson Toyota site. Services at the northeast quadrant, and that would benefit multiple properties, and temporary private services, which would allow the development to proceed. And when pipe services came along, then there would be a requirement for that site to connect. So we've depicted that graphically. So the purple line shows there was an opportunity to connect on pipe services that would only benefit that Part 4 of the site, and I guess potentially could have benefited the other 2 properties as well. And there is no other properties that would benefit from this alignment. So the second option was to run what we call the northeast servicing area. So that alignment would service other lands. There are several lands held by the municipality in those areas, and there was a commitment made that if the developer front-ended the cost of those services, that as development proceeded on these other lands that benefited, that money would be turned back to the developer. So that's a standard front-ending agreement that occurs with developers in the town. The municipality does not build services for developers, and the other developers that have constructed developments in town build their own services on the municipal streets. And as there's oversizing that benefit other lands, well, money is filtered back to the original developer that put the services in. Next slide. So the town provided these servicing options to George Jackson Toyota in September 2006. George Jackson identified that they would be proceeding on temporary private services in January 2007. And at that time, there were several discussions with the municipality. The town provided the terms of the development agreement to George Jackson Toyota in February 2007, and no further actions were taken until 2008 in June, at which time George Jackson Toyota provided an application for the official plan amendment, the zoning bylaw amendment, site plan approval, and the approval for severances to divide up these parcels of land. So the studies that were required, I guess when the municipality does get applications, they circulate to a wide range of agencies like MNR and MTO, and the various agencies develop reports that they would like to see, or the municipality has requirements for engineering studies to support a development. So in this particular case, because it was proceeding on temporary private services, the town wanted to establish that the site could be serviced with a well, and they could get potable water from the well, and as well that a septic system would work. So there was a study that was required to show that these systems would work, and that was completed in October 2008. Transportation impact study was generated, or was a requirement of the MTO, because of the land is in close proximity to the Highway 17 corridor. So that was completed in November 2008. An environmental site assessment was requested by the M&R to address the stormwater systems would discharge to a creek in there, just adjacent to the site. And so this study was required to show that there wouldn't be any impacts from the development on that creek. So the specific approvals that were required for this development from start to finish was number one, an official plan amendment. And the official plan sort of just shows the outlining development structure of the town, sort of puts residential and commercial areas where they should be developed. And since the official plan had all developments on pipe services, and this was proposed on temporary services, an official plan amendment was required. So zoning bylaw amendment was also required, as well as site plan approval, and these are pretty standard development tools that the municipality employ with all of the developments. And then a building permit. So once you have the official plan and zoning in place, and you have site plan approval, then you can get a building permit. So a bit on the official plan amendment. The County of Renfrew is the official plan amendment authority, so it's not really the town, although the town sort of stick handle the application and move it through its processes. So I indicated that the development, the official plan required to be on pipe services, and since it was on temporary private services, an official plan amendment was required. So that application was received in June 2008, and the required studies completed in November and December sort of supported the official plan amendment. So final approval was obtained by the developer on December 28th. The bylaws were passed by the town in December 2008, and county approval on January 2009. So the official plan approval is pretty much done. So the development charges and consent agreement, we indicated that development in these areas are to be on pipe services eventually. So when piped water and sewer services eventually get to this area, this development will be required to connect to those services, such that all development in that area will eventually be on piped water and sewer services. So these agreements, both the development and consent, kind of tie those lands into that commitment to tie into pipe services eventually. And those bylaws which executed the development consent agreements have been passed by council on August 17th, 2009, and were signed and sent to George Jackson Toyota. So the town is still waiting execution of those two agreements. So as far as the zoning bylaw amendments, application was received in June 2008. The development agreement required to complete the rezoning. So the development agreement was a condition about on getting the zoning. So currently, right now, there's a holding symbol on the zoning on that property, on the George Jackson Toyota property. So the development agreement that's been executed by council and signed by council needs to be executed by George Jackson Toyota and returned, and then council can pass a bylaw to lift this holding symbol, and then this property will have the proper zoning for development. Next, we move on to site plan approval. So the application for site plan approval was received on June 2008, and the initial site plan and engineering drawings were provided December 16th, 2008. And I think that time frame, they're required to give input from the engineering or from these reports. The engineers had to sort of fold the comments in from the different reports and the different agencies, and produce a set of drawings that would be satisfactory to the town as well as the external agencies. So municipal comments were provided on December 31st, and George Jackson Toyota circulated the drawings and reports to the external agencies, including MTO and the M&R, in January 2009. So final drawings which addressed these comments were submitted to the town on August 6th, 2009. So council approved the site plan bylaw, the bylaw Dave spoke of, on August 17th, 2009. So as far as what the site plan details are, there's a stormwater retention and treatment pond. There's a septic system, which includes gray water and sewage. There's a sewage pumping station for the George Jackson building that pumps the sewage over to the septic system. There's parking lot, a fairly substantial parking lot lighting and landscaping component, I would say. Site grading, pipe drainage systems, a storage compound for there's some metal bins there, plus waste containers in a compound, in a fenced-in compound area. There's a fire water storage tank. Since the system is on a well, the building will have to be protected by having a water storage tank that stores water, and in the event of a fire, then water will be drawn from the fire storage tank to fight the fire. So water pumping and purification system to provide potable water to the building, and an access road. So this is depicted in this overall site plan. So this is Whitten Road down here. So there's an access road into the site, and here's his building, and as well here's your septic system, and here's your stormwater management system, and there's a fenced-in compound here. I think there's a blow up on the next slide. So the access road and the buildings, there's a fairly substantial amount of parking lot and site grading that has to occur. It's a fairly large site. So that's what makes up the project. The next slide shows the intersecting road to Whitten with the future development lands here and here. Okay, next slide please. So the issue of site plan security. Yes, the Planning Act requires that the town ensure that development is constructed in accordance with the approved plans. And I guess all land starts off as private land, and developments get built and the public has access to them. So the Planning Act requires, because the public has access to them, that the plans be approved by the municipality, and that the municipality ensure that the development is constructed in accordance with the approved plans. So in Renfrew's case, it is a policy decision that site plan agreements are entered into, and the Planning Act gives the municipality authority to do that, and that the municipality ensures that developments are built in accordance with their plans by requiring a financial security. So that's the way Renfrew does it, and that's been their policy. So Renfrew site plan agreement requires a security of 100% of the cost of the works, and the form of security could be a letter of credit. And the estimate of the cost of the proposed works is provided by George Jackson Toyota Engineering Consultants. So we don't do any estimates on the project. We receive information from the developer's engineers, and we say, yes, it seems reasonable, or no, it doesn't seem reasonable. So in this case, the first estimate was $1.7 million, and we told their engineers that seemed kind of high, so they went back and reviewed it and came back with $1.4 million in their estimate. So the site plan security has been applied consistently for developments in the town of Renfrew. The estimated cost of the works, as we indicated, was $1.5 million. The financial security was reduced from 100% to 50%. That's where the $750,000 came from. That was done on the August 17th, 2009 meeting. So our survey of securities that are held by towns in the area, and they're towns about our size in our general area. So there's 3 columns. There's site plans that are held on public lands, site plans that are on private lands, I guess, which would be the case of this development, and there's subdivisions. So in this case, Arnprior, there's security for site plans on private lands is 100%. In Aylmont, it's 50%. Carlton Place, it's 100%. Smith Falls is 50%. Perth is 75%. Petawawa is 0%. And Deep River may also be 0%. That may be your other ones, the 2 municipalities. Pembroke is 50%. And Renfrew reduced their securities from 100 to 50% at the time of the bylaw, the passing of the bylaw. So the next one, what is a letter of credit? A letter of credit is a standard financial vehicle for providing site plan securities. Okay, the funds are held by the developer's financial institution, and the town can draw upon the security to correct deficiencies that developer is not willing to correct should the need arise. And our experience is that the need does not arise very frequently, and if it does, it's it's usually a fairly minor. We usually reach a consensus with the developers. Okay, the amount of the letter of credit can be reduced as works are completed. So the faster the work is completed, the faster that financial security can be reduced. So we just we send a letter to the bank saying, can you reduce the financial security from $750,000 to $300,000 if the developer completes that amount of work. So the treasurer has done some research into what the cost is for providing a $750,000 letter of credit. Okay, we went to 2 financial institutions that we know fairly well, and there's a setup fee of $250, okay, for each of these applications. So the annual fee for a $750,000 letter of credit is one financial institution, the minimum of $9,000, and if they have some bad or worse experiences, then it would be $15,750. So that's the cost of providing that $750,000 letter of credit. So the second bank, the cost, the range, we'll say the $250 setup fee plus $8,500 per year to provide the $750,000 security. Okay, a little bit on the building permit process. So once the official plan amendment is in place and you have your approval and the zoning bylaw has been passed and you have the proper zoning on the property, and you can come to execute a site plan agreement with the municipality and then get the agreement registered and with the proper securities as required, then you're ready to submit a building permit. So to submit a building permit, you have to submit a complete application. So there's several calculations that you have to do. In this particular case, for fire protection under the Ontario Building Code, so there's certain schedules that have to be filled out, and you have to supply a building permit fee and submit pay the development charge that's applicable to that property through the Development Charges Act. And once the town receives a complete package, we have 10 days to turn it around. So we can't say there's legislation saying that we have to turn the drawings around in a certain time frame. And it's conditional upon a complete application being filed. So the building permit will be provided once any concerns after the review, any concerns are addressed, then we can provide a building permit. So I guess the path forward, and these are things that can proceed immediately, is that the execution of the development and consent agreements, if the developer was able to sign those agreements and register them on title, then he would be able to finalize the severances on the two new parcels that have been created. And they could also request to have the holding symbol lifted from the zoning bylaw. So those are things that could happen now, and there doesn't seem to be under dispute. Okay, George Daxon Toyota, as Dave indicated, is contesting the security requirement. And again, there's a policy in place. Council certainly has the discretion with regard to policy. So the applicant is not satisfied with the reduction from 100% to 50%, and that's why everybody's here tonight. And the applicant has launched an appeal to the OMB, as indicated by the LaRocques. And the town will abide by any ruling. I guess they're required to abide by any ruling of the OMB. And any decision that they make will be binding on the town. And the applicant has chosen not to advance the zoning, the severances, or building permit application processes at this time. So the longer this goes on, then the longer there is going to be a delay. So the remaining steps to complete: resolve the site plan security issues, wait until the OMB renders, I guess, to resolve the site plan security issues, there's possibilities: wait until the OMB renders a decision, or provide the municipal requirements of $750,000, or alternatively the council changes their policy, which they've stated at this time that they're pretty much bound by the 50% security. To register the site plan agreement on title once the agreement is obtained, and to submit complete applications for building permit. And that's all I have to say this evening.
Thank you very much, Director Asselin. That certainly overviews where we are. So getting back to the delegation that we've had, I'm looking to council if there are any questions or comments in regard to the information we've held. As you know, I did speak to the motion on August 17th, 2009. So at this time, is there any comments or discussion? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to thank Director Asselin for that presentation. I think it summed up the details, the facts of the situation, how we got to where we are today. Whether it was right, wrong, or I suppose it may come to a point we may agree to disagree. Be that as it may, we are in front of the OMB. They've yet to establish what is confidential and what is not, and that's the primary reason I would not debate this issue tonight, Your Worship, and I choose publicly not to address it, and I would hope that my fellow councillors feel the same way.
Any other comments or discussion? Councillor Wendell?
I have a statement, Your Worship. I don't think it will hurt us in any way, shape, or form. It was 2 pages on Saturday, and that scared a couple of councillors, so I cut it back to 1. First of all, it's always been my experience, Mr. LaRocques, that the truth sets us free and that it's not painful at all. But that we could disagree on too, I suppose. The reason that I haven't spoken with the Toyota people since this bylaw is because I still believe it's a good bylaw, so it was kind of pointless to think about phoning them. I have to say I've worked 10 times as hard on this development as I have on any other development in 6 years I've been on council. I would also like to remind everybody that one thing that the public may not know about this quorum is that it is required that we must speak in the positive. Motions are always written in the positive, so I will stay positive. I would like to first of all publicly apologize for missing the August 17th meeting that initially passed the motion that has us here again this evening. I have a good reason for missing that meeting, as Your Worship knows. On my return from Toronto at a conference that day, my GMC was sideswiped by a Toyota. The meeting was ended before I returned home that night. There is there's a positive there. She did have insurance. Thank you. So yeah, it's all fixed. Had I been here, though, I would have voted in favor of the bylaw. I believe that reducing it to 50% because at this moment they're going on private services, I think that was I would have voted in favor of that. It is my hope that the owners and staff of George Jackson Toyota will be working from their new location in its own due course, whatever time frame that might be, hopefully soon. Today I can tell you that I will continue to defend the actions of staff and council throughout the Ontario Municipal Board investigation that George Jackson Toyota have brought forth. I will also continue to support the bylaw that asks developers for security. It is my experienced belief that they are every bit a necessary evil, if you must, and I apologize to the brokers for that phrase. In these challenging and economic times, insurance is as important as assurance. I started a barber poll on this issue when the media took an interest in this challenge to the bylaw, and 96% of the people that I polled think that this is a good bylaw and have asked that I stay the course. I will add 2 more positive thoughts before I sit down. There are no more nurturing individuals than those who serve this very caring community than the staff and council of the town of Renfrew. And although this council has the ability to sway easily, we are not easily swayed. Thank you, Your Worship.
Any other comments or questions?
Oh, I had one more thing.
Yes,
I'm sorry, this is the most important part. This summer, and it'll only take me 2 minutes, I've never used 10 minutes, so if I do tonight, there you go. This summer I had 2 little children arrive at my place of employment, and everybody's in recession on the main street. We're all feeling it, right? And these kids came in and they said, barely old enough to be out in the daylight, said, my mom and dad sent us out here because we're praying for business in the town of Renfrew. And if you would like to put this cord in your window, when we go for our evening walk every night, we'll pray for your business. Well, I almost cried, but I thought, you know what? I kept it in the window, and my business has done nothing but prosper since those kids were there. So as a gesture of good faith, Your Worship, I would like to put this in the window at George Jackson Toyota and hope that they take it to their new place of employment. Okay? Thank you very much. And I'll leave it here. All right.
Are there any other comments or questions at this time? All right, very well. We will move on to the rest of our meeting. Yes?
This PowerPoint was excellent.
Thank
A
you.
couple of things that are wide open when you're going to get a crowd of people. I'd like to have 5 minutes to address them.
Councillor Ringrose.
This is a
Point of
deputation.
order.
We have listened very closely to everything you had to say, and you obviously have listened to us. It's not a debate. There's no motion on the floor. It's a deputation. You've used your time. It's over.
At this time, I'd like to call for some order. Certainly, there are points that need clarification, both for you, Mr. LaRocques, and certainly from your presentation, and we are going to move on to the rest of our council.
This is very important. This is very important for the council. This is important for the people here, and it's very important for council. Whether they want to hear it or not, it's very important. Because how can they make a learned decision unless they know all the facts?
We aren't making any decision this evening.
I'm not asking you to make a decision.
And we would be more than pleased to have you come back and make a presentation.
Sorry. Do not grant us 5 minutes.
Councillor Ringrose.
If I could ask a compromise, you have the right for deputation. You have the right at the next council for a deputation. Why not, in the meantime, put your questions in?
At this time, the issue is closed. There is a protocol here, and thank you. Yes, thank you very much. And we are moving on to the meeting, which will continue in an orderly manner. And no, I'm just going to carry on. You're very welcome to stay if you wish. This motion moved by call for a recess. We will have yes.
I would request a recess this moment, as it's a little bit difficult to operate in this environment.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We'll reconvene this meeting, and we'll move into motion number 12 at the moment. And this motion moved by Councillor Tom Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bill Ringrose, that bylaw number 33/2009 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a subdivision agreement with M. Wilson Home Development Limited with respect to development of Phase 2 of Hunter Gate subdivision be read a first time and be deemed to have been read a second time. And at this time, I'm going to ask Director Asselin, or are you going to look after it? Okay, very well. We'll ask our acting planner to come forward and just review that.
Thank you. Thank you. Pull this up. So for tonight, this is for subdivision agreement for Phase 2 of the Hunter Gate subdivision. So what we have here is a draft plan of subdivision for all of Hunter's Gate. So what I've highlighted here just indicates Phase 2 in the overall plan, this being Phase 1. Phase 2 and the remainder of the lands will remain at this time as it is. So that's just putting it into context as to Phase 2. This is actually what Phase 2 will be. So it has 17 lots for single-family dwellings, 5 blocks for multi-unit residential. There's a parkland block, an extension of Elk Street, and a new street. So Elk Street will continue through here, and this will be a new street. So this is referred to as Street A, which within the subdivision agreement will be named as Otter Ridge Avenue. And Otter Ridge came from the original draft plan, which was approved in 2006. There was an Otter Ridge Avenue, and due to reconfiguration of the streets and lots within the subdivision, that no longer existed in that area, so it's going to be transformed onto this. And just in terms of the streets, if council recalls that Elk Street had sort of a different configuration in terms of the sidewalk, and there was a parking lay-by, per se. That will continue on with the rest of Elk Street. The new street is 20-meter road allowance, and the sidewalk will be at the edge of the curb, and will be a concrete sidewalk. So the subdivision of agreement has been provided to council, has been amended from the Phase 1 subdivision agreements just slightly. I took the Phase 1 subdivision agreement and included some updates, kept the standard provisions, just revised and included some more provisions in terms of easements and transfers of easements, etc. So as I said, the original draft plan was approved in June 2006, and then it was amended by a red line plan, which was provided to council earlier this year, with a change of conditions, amending the original conditions. And we have received approval, or the developer, M. Wilson Developments, has received approval from the County of Renfrew for those amended conditions, which again are incorporated into the subdivision agreement. So the provisions of the subdivision agreement, basically the clauses, if you want me to highlight any of them specifically, I was just going to kind of do an overview of what the agreement refers to: warranty and maintenance, supervision of construction and installation of services, securities, process for building permits, roads, construction and maintenance of roads, water and sewer, drainage, stormwater management, utilities, street signs, easements, and financial arrangements. And the schedules attached to include the plan of subdivision, which this will be registered. The process will be the plan of subdivision to be registered, an easement plan to be registered, subdivision agreement plan, or subdivision agreement will then be registered, indicating the M plan numbers. The engineering plans are contained within the schedules of the agreement, the conditions, and there's a Renfrew hydro agreement. One of the schedules in the agreement is for securities, which are standard, as has been indicated previously this evening, is 100%. So the, got that in front of me. The cost estimate, again, was provided by the developer's engineering consultant. In this situation, we entered into an early servicing agreement with M. Wilson Home. He entered into the early servicing agreement, posted a bond with the town in order to complete some of the works, and that was negotiated with the town. So the amount that has been done in the agreement was there was an estimate of the remaining works required provided by the engineering consultants. The town reviewed that and included a warranty, 25% on the works completed, and that is how we have determined the final amount remaining, which is included within the cost estimate, which is part of the subdivision agreement. So the bylaw forward before you tonight is to enter into the subdivision agreement, authorize the mayor and the clerk to enter into the subdivision agreement for Phase 2 of 100 Gate.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Sure, Councillor Anderson.
More of a question, Your Worship.
Sure.
It's a pleasure to support this this motion and this bylaw. It does prove that Renfrew is open for development, and with developers such as M. Wilson Home Developments, it will continue to flourish regardless of what may have been said earlier. So it gives me great pleasure to move this one forward, ma'am.
Thank you for that comment. Councillor Ringrose.
I just had one small observation, which I'm pleased to see is going to be in this part, and that has to do with the street profile. I'm glad we're going away from something that I think was a little experimental the last time around. Experience has shown it hasn't worked, and I'm glad that the street and sidewalk is going to be that profile. Thank you.
And that shows flexibility and the workings of the developer and the Development and Works Department, so I thank you for that. Councillor
I just
Wendell.
wanted to add to Councillor Anderson's comment in that I'm also thankful for the professional manner with which we always have dealt with over the years, so it's a pleasure to work with Mr. Wilson.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Oh, Reeve Green.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that maybe if you would just go a little more in detail with the financial arrangements, it might also help a little bit, since we're talking about large amounts of money here. The insurance,
You really wanna
the
go into
insurance,
that?
well, the,
Audrey,
well,
you really don't want to go into that.
I think,
Director Asselin.
Yes, with the, certainly the schedule, if you can refer to Schedule C of your subdivision agreement. Okay, so the municipality essentially is retaining the securities in the amount of 100% of the work that is remaining at the site right now. So essentially, he's posting a security of $319,391, and that includes 25% security on the roads and 15% security on the sewers, and we're retaining a function for as-built as well. So the total is $319,391. That's good.
And once that is finished, then that will be released. Yes, Reeve Green.
Your Worship, I purposely wanted that pointed out because I feel that Mr. Wilson, over the last 20 years, has proven to be not only reliable, responsible, and very dedicated to the town of Renfrew, but that during that period of time, if we as a council of the town of Renfrew cannot give special consideration to someone that has done as much for the town of Renfrew as he has, and this is not roses, believe me, but I feel that whether it's the OMB or whoever, cannot make any issue out of this, because we have taken the liberty of showing as much good faith to Mr. Wilson as he has to the town of Renfrew.
That's a great compliment. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, very well. Then we're going to vote on the first and second reading. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? The motion's carried. And Mr. Wilson, I don't know if you wish to say anything, or you're not obligated to.
Working with them actually is a pleasure, and I understand the rules of the game. Security's there for a reason. It's there to protect the municipality. If you can't buy security, you shouldn't be in the game. It's all the more reason. I take exception totally to what's happened here tonight, because I think it's non-justifiable, totally. And I stand your ground. Please stand your ground. It's a law. We all have to do it, and I'm not objecting, and I've been here for 25, 30 years. And once again, thank you for the kind words, Mr. Anderson, Councillor Wendell, and Audrey. And as I say, Mike, his door is always open, Your Worship, and I've had no problems at all, Mr. Asselin. I find them very helpful and pleasant, and Julie, and once again, thank you for helping me to carry on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for abiding by the rules. This is the third reading. This motion moved by Councillor Tom Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bill Ringrose, that bylaw number 33/2009 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a subdivision agreement with M. Wilson Home Development Limited with respect to the development of Phase 2 of Hunter Gate subdivision be read a third time and be passed. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? The motion's carried. You're welcome. And Julie, if you want to stay, we'll just deal with the next planning issue. And this is a motion moved by Councillor Gail